Hey Marbles, what's up? God, this has been difficult at best because I want to talk about my mom and I want it to come out right. I want to depict who she is and what her life meant correctly. So here we go. My mother, my best friend, my best influence. I sometimes am kind of lost without her. We lost her on Christmas Day of 2016, just 1 month after her 70th birthday, and the day that we did her hospice intake. She was an amazing human being that never gave herself enough credit, that never treated herself kindly. And she was a very, very smart, very talented lady, very loving, very caring. She wasn't the mom that just came up and gave you these big hugs, because that just wasn't her. And she would always say, Susan, I wasn't raised like that. I wasn't raised with like these big, huge hugs and all this. I don't want to say displays of affection, but displays of affection. And, my grandpa, he was pretty staunch. He was a high school principal. He was a high school basketball coach, and he didn't put up with shit. Plain and simple. But he sure did love big. He loved big. And my grandma loved big too. And she was extremely talented. But my grandma suffered with depression as well. And I know some of her story, and there's no need for me to delve into that. But she did. She suffered with depression and anxiety. She had electric shock therapy. What? Until it was deemed inhumane. I believe my mom and my aunt sometimes had to go when they did those things. And it sucks. Like, it really sucks. Because when somebody comes at me and they're like, Susan, it's not genetic. The hell you say? How is it not genetic? How did the genes not connect and come down? And nurture versus nature and blah, 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 blah. You know what? I've had some craptastic things happen to me in this lifetime. So I know for a fact that, number one, plays a part in who I am and how my wires are crossed. But I also know that my grandmother had depression. My mom had depression. My little brother has it. Anxiety is involved. So you'll never convince me otherwise. But nonetheless. So my mom, she was kind of a rebel. She did things the Dixie way. And she, as far as I know, she did it from the time she could till the time she couldn't. And but I will tell you that no, she didn't finish her college degree, which probably really upset my grandpa and my grandma. But this is what she did. She went to work at this ammunition plant or munitions plant, and she worked her way up to the executive assistant to the senior vice president of the company. She went to work every day, stilettos, to the nines. She worked with high-powered folk, okay? She worked with people at the Pentagon and then some. She carried herself that way. You didn't F with Ducky. You just didn't. Because she's not going to play games with you. And, excuse me, she carried herself equally as professional in all the things that her kids did too. So I have a brother that's 12 years younger. With me, she went to every piano recital. She went to every swim meet. She went to every golf tournament. She showed out, right? She was always there. She took me, she brought me home. She took my friends, she brought them home. She was always involved. Same with my brother. When my little brother came along, baseball's a huge thing in our family, which will probably come about several different times. But when my brother was playing ball, my dad coached, my mom was president of Babe Ruth. She was secretary of Babe Ruth. If you couldn't find her, you knew. Go down to the baseball complex, and she's down there running the show. Period. Okay? Talented. If she could do cross stitch like nobody that I know. If you looked at it from the front side and then the back side, they both look the same. It was incredible. I'm so fortunate that I have like 5-6 pieces of hers that I've never seen anybody do it as clean as she did. She painted just like my grandma. Toll painters. Beautiful, 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 beautiful work. And she would give those out as gifts. And people were just like, oh my God, Dixie, thank you, thank you, thank you. However, all of the accolades and everything else that came along with it, she still never felt like she was good enough. And it's really unfortunate because when I think about my mom, I think about the legacy she left behind and the legacy that she didn't realize that she left behind. She didn't treat herself very good. She, sorry. When my grandmother passed in 1988, I was in between my sophomore and junior year of high school, and I was in Nevada for the summer. I had a job, and I kept trying to call my mom, and nobody would tell me where she was at. And come to find out, my grandma had passed that day, which consequently is July 2nd, which is coming up, right? And when I finally found out, my mom was like, I don't want her to come home. She didn't want me to be here. She didn't want me to be here because I think she knew she was on the brink. She was ready to. She wasn't handling it very well. And, you know, I can't say that I blame her. Now I know what it's like to lose your mom. And, you know, I lost my dad, and I thought it was the most devastating thing in the world. And it was pretty devastating. But when I lost my mom, I lost the person that brought me into this world. I lost the person that I was more connected to, aside from my son, than anyone. And I lost the person that I held clear up here, right? That didn't hold herself there. When I tell you that I got a phone call one day asking me, and this was quite a few years after my dad had passed. I got a phone call one day asking me if I would go check on my mom because she didn't show up to work, and somebody went to check on her and said she wasn't doing very good. I drove. Let me back up. I managed a beauty supply store, and I had been on vacation the week before, and here I was at work, and I got a phone call from her boss that was like, Susan, your mom didn't show up to work today. We sent so-and-so to check on her, and she's in bad shape. I said, okay. As soon as my, assistant gets here, I'll be there. So on my way there, I called an attorney. I got power of whatever, and I called my sister-in-law, and she went with me to the house, and we went looking for my mom. Power of attorney, by the way, is what I was thinking of. Sorry, my eyes are getting stuck. And because I knew I was going to have to make some craptastic decisions, and she was probably going to fight me all the way. But you couldn't have prepared me for what we found when we got there, because we went looking for her, and there's a big bay window that looks out the backside to the deck that my dad built. And I didn't see her out there. So I was like, well, she's not outside. So her purse was there, her car was, everything was there. So I was like, where is she? And I went outside, and there she lay. She laid on the deck. I thought she was dead. I don't know if anybody else has come across thinking that their parent is dead, but it sucks. And I yelled at my sister-in-law, and I was like, call 911. And I bent down, and I kind of was shaking her, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I didn't do this before. And she started kind of coming around. And she looked at me, and I was like, oh my God, I love you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And she immediately started going into seizures. My mother, that weighed 90 pounds soaking wet, was going into seizures because she was having withdrawals from alcohol. And she apologized to me, and I'm like, I'm not sure why you're apologizing to me, but let's get up, let's do what we got to do, and go on about our way. And she was all about it until I told her that EMS was coming. She's like, I'm not going. And I said, oh, you're going. I said, you got two choices today. You're going to go with the ambulance, or you're going to go with me. And she looked at me, and I said, I'm not burying you today. So what's your choice? And as soon as the EMTs got there, which she knew, she sat up, she put her hands down, because she was a functioning alcoholic. She'd been going to work this whole time. And she was like, hey guys, how are you? And they're like, well, Dixie, how are you doing? She was like, I'm good. I was mad. I was mad. My sister-in-law was mad. And when you say mad, it's like mad in the best way you could be mad, right? And you fast forward, she wouldn't get in the ambulance with them, but she would ride with me. She was going to ride with me, but they were going to follow us to make sure that we went to the ER. We went to the ER, and my mother's blood alcohol level was a 0.3, blah, 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 blah. She was in stroke stage. And she just wouldn't be honest. She knew the lady in triage. The lady in triage was like, Dixie, how much do you drink on a daily basis? And she said, blah, 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 blah. And I looked at her and I went, you going to tell her about the rest? And my mother could put you in the ground with eyes or with what she said, because she lived by the philosophy that once you say something, you can't eat your words, you can't take it back. It's out there forever. So you be careful and you choose your words wisely. And she looked at me and put me to the ground. She was so mad. And I was like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And it's not going to do anything productive unless we're honest. And that's when I think my mom really started to get honest. And she stepped on a scale, and my mother weighed 85 pounds. She was 5'5.5" and weighed 85 pounds. I tried to do an intervention with her before that happened, and she didn't want any part of it. However, just kind of fast forward, that day we got her into rehab. We took her about 2.5 hours north. And we got there and we packed her bags because she was like, I'm not going. And I'm like, oh, you're going. I pulled rank, and I'm sure it pissed her off. But I pulled rank and I said, you're going. Because I'd already been there. So, you know what? I put myself in rehab. I put her in there too, I guess. So we packed her bags. We took her. We went to drop her off. My brother and my sister-in-law at the time said what they needed to say, and they were like, you got 5 minutes. And I was like, the hell you say I got 5 minutes? This is my mother. And they were like, no, you got 5 minutes, and it's time for you to go. And she's going to go into detox, and you're not going to talk to her for a week. And when I tell you, I about came unglued, because my mother looked at me and she said, I thought you loved me. I thought you loved me. And I was like, I do love you, which is why I'm doing it. That's kind of the apex of this whole thing, because the short of the long is insurance would not pay for inpatient treatment. It would pay for her detox, so they would let her stay the entire week, and I could come get her on the weekend. And then she was going to have to do outpatient therapy. And I don't know if you've ever dealt with somebody that's had an addiction so deep that it just ruins everything, especially if it's your parent. It sucks. It sucks. So I went and got her the next week. I brought her to my house. She stayed with me. And it lasted for a while. She white knuckled, right? She white knuckled for a hot minute. And she wound up staying with her sister. She wound up living with her sister. Now, I'm telling you, this is a woman that has been a professional, that has her own home, her own everything. She had it all. And because her mind would not let her ever, ever, ever believe that she was worthy of the things that she had gotten, she lost it all. She lost all of it. She didn't really lose it, but she did. And, you know, we're fortunate that in the last couple of years when she lived with her sister that she got sober. She stayed sober. But I'm going to tell you that in the end, we celebrated her 70th birthday 2 days after Thanksgiving. And as soon as we were done with the celebration, we did her hospice intake. 4 weeks later, my mother died. She weighed 48 pounds. 48 pounds. Because she was afraid to be fat. She was afraid of everything. She was afraid of not being perfect. She was just afraid of everything. But when help was offered to her, she didn't take it. If she would have been open to some sort of treatment, some sort of counseling, some sort of medication. Hey, listen, I've been on medication the better part of my adult life because my mind tells me I'm not good enough. That's a whole nother day. But I'm just here to tell you that when my mother left this world, the last word she said was, "I'm sorry." Because she felt like she let everybody down. And I was the one that sat there and listened. I was the one that heard it. And damn it, she didn't let us all down. She let herself down, and that's what hurts the most. Because she never knew how amazing she was. Because she made all of her 24s. She made them. Okay, I'm not saying that she didn't. But when she left, I know without a shadow of a doubt that she had regrets, and that sucks because there's no reason she should have had any regrets. And there's no reason she should have left us when she was 70. She didn't take care of herself because she didn't believe that she deserved to take care of herself. She didn't believe that she deserved to be number one to her. And damn it, she did. I'm telling you, talented painter, cross-stitch, crochet, baker, mother, grandma, aunt, wife, daughter. She encompassed it all. But for some reason, her mind didn't let her think so. And for some reason, she wasn't open to getting the help that she needed. And had she done that, I honestly believe that my mom, she may not be here today, but she would have been here for a few more years. So just think about that. When you tell yourself that you're not worthy, you might not think so, but I'm going to tell you what, there's a lot of people around you that do. There's a lot of people around you that do. And they're going to be sad when it's time to say goodbye, and that sucks. Know your worth. And if you see somebody else struggling, let them know their worth. I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan. And I seen something the other day, and it's not their work, but it was something else that kind of tied into it. And I was like, you know, if you see somebody struggling, if you see somebody drowning, freaking jump in, tread the waters with them. Ride the wave. Ride the wave where it takes them. Go with them. Let them know. Because the worst thing to me is leaving this world not knowing the impact that I made. And the worst thing for me right now is my mom left this world and she had no idea how special she was. None. I tried hard. I tried hard. Do not let somebody's final 24 let them think that they are less than. Because we're not. Until the next 24.